Please. Please don't let her die too." The little girl's voice was barely a whisper, but it shattered 347 years of silence. Kael Thorne had opened his door expecting nothing. Maybe a prank. Maybe a drunk fool who'd wandered into the wrong neighborhood. What he found was a child collapsing on his doorstep, frostbitten fingers still clutching the iron bell, tears frozen on her face like diamonds made of pain. She looked up at him with eyes that had seen too much, survived too much, endured too much. Eyes that should have been filled with childhood wonder but instead held the kind of desperation that makes people do impossible things. Like walking 3 miles through November snow to beg a monster for mercy. "Please adopt my mother and me." Her lips were turning blue. "My stepfather is wicked. He hurts her. He'll hurt me. We have nobody. Please." And just like that, the vampire lord who'd spent 2 centuries perfecting the art of not caring felt something crack inside his chest where a heartbeat used to be. This wasn't how it was supposed to start. But then again, the best stories never are. The door shouldn't have been answered at all. Kael Thorne had lived 347 years by following one simple rule: never get involved with humans unless you're feeding on them. So when the bell rang at Thornwood Manor at 2 in the morning, his first instinct was to ignore it. Probably teenagers on a dare. Probably some drunk fool who took a wrong turn in the Belmont district. But the bell rang again. And again. Weak. Desperate. Dying. He opened the door. What he found made him pause for the first time in 2 centuries. A little girl. Maybe 7 years old. Collapsed on his stone steps, her lips blue from cold, her fingers frozen around the iron railing. Tears had crystallized on her cheeks like diamonds. Her coat was too thin for November in Illinois. Her shoes had holes. She looked up at him with eyes that had seen too much. "Please." The word came out as barely a whisper. "Please adopt my mother and me. My stepfather is wicked." Kael's first thought was to compel her. Make her forget. Send her home. He'd perfected the art of not caring, and this small human with her impossible request was threatening to crack something he'd buried long ago. But she spoke again before he could. "He hurts her. He'll hurt me too. We have nobody. Please." The word nobody hit him differently than it should have. Kael knew what nobody felt like. He'd been nobody for longer than this child's great-great-grandparents had been alive. He should have closed the door. Instead, he heard himself say, "Tell me everything." Her name was Wren. Her mother was Sloane. Her stepfather was Derek Harlow. And as the little girl spoke through chattering teeth, Kael felt something ancient and violent stirring in his chest. She told him about the bruises her mother hid under long sleeves. About the shouting that made the walls shake. About the night 3 days ago when Derek pushed Sloane down the stairs and told Wren she was next if she didn't learn respect. Monsters don't always hide in the dark. Sometimes they coach Little League. Kael brought the child inside, wrapped her in a blanket that cost more than most people's rent, and gave her tea she was too scared to drink. He made a call. Within 20 minutes, a car arrived to take Wren home, but Kael did something he hadn't done in decades. He followed. The Harlow house was small, shabby, suffocating. Kael watched from the shadows across the street, his supernatural vision cutting through the darkness like a knife. The lights were off except for one window on the 2nd floor. And that's when he saw her. Sloane. She stood at the kitchen sink, washing dishes at 2:30 in the morning, and Kael understood immediately. She wasn't cleaning. She was surviving. Staying busy. Staying useful. Staying out of Derek's way. Even from this distance, Kael could see the bruise on her cheekbone. The way she moved slowly, carefully, like someone whose ribs were broken. The way she glanced toward the stairs every few seconds, listening for footsteps. She was beautiful the way broken things are beautiful. Fragile. Determined. Barely holding together. And for the first time in 217 years, Kael Thorne felt something other than hunger. The front door slammed open. Derek stumbled out, drunk, shouting back into the house. "You're worthless, you know that? Worthless." Kael's hands curled into fists. His vision edged red. Every instinct screamed at him to cross the street and rip Derek's throat out right there on the lawn. But he didn't. Because the little girl's voice echoed in his head. "Please adopt my mother and me." This wasn't about revenge. Not yet. This was about something Kael had forgotten existed. Protection. Family. The kind of bond that made a 7-year-old walk 3 miles through snow to beg a monster for help. Derek went back inside. The shouting continued. Sloane flinched but kept washing dishes. And Kael made a decision that would change 3 lives forever. He pulled out his phone and made another call. "I need everything on Derek Harlow. Everything. Financial records, associates, criminal history. I want to know every breath he's taken for the last 10 years. The voice on the other end didn't ask why. They never did. Kael looked up at the window where Sloane stood, and he whispered into the cold November air, a promise only he could hear. She's mine now. She just doesn't know it yet. What would you do if a child begged you to save their parent? Have you ever been that desperate for help that you'd ask a stranger, a legend, a monster? Tell me in the comments, because some decisions change everything. And Kael Thorne just made one that would shake Ashford Heights to its core. Kael hadn't set foot in a hospital in over a century. The smell of antiseptic and dying flowers made his head pound. But he walked through the doors of Ashford General at exactly 3:15 in the afternoon because his sources told him that's when Sloane Marrick took her break. He found her in the staff cafeteria, sitting alone at a corner table, staring at a sandwich she wasn't eating. Up close, she was even more devastating. Her scrubs were faded but clean. Her hair was pulled back in a ponytail that showed the bruise on her temple she tried to cover with makeup. Her hands trembled slightly as she held her coffee cup. She looked exhausted. Hollow. Like someone who'd forgotten what sleep felt like. Kael had walked into this hospital with a plan. Offer her a job. Give her an escape route. Keep his distance emotionally. But the moment she looked up and their eyes met, the plan evaporated. Her eyes were the color of honey in sunlight. Warm. Sad. Guarded. Excuse me. Kael's voice came out softer than he intended. Are you Sloane Marrick? She tensed immediately, and Kael hated that he'd caused it. Yes. Do I know you? Not yet. He gestured to the empty chair across from her. May I? She hesitated, glancing around the cafeteria like she was calculating escape routes. That instinct, that fear, made Kael's rage toward Derek Harlow burn hotter. I'm not here to hurt you. He kept his hands visible, his posture open. I'm here to offer you a job. Her eyebrows raised. A job? Kael sat down slowly, giving her time to object. My name is Kael Thorne. I own Thornewood Manor in the Belmont district. I'm looking for a private nurse. Live-in position. Separate quarters. Excellent pay. Your daughter would have her own room, access to private tutors if you prefer. He watched her process this. Watched suspicion war with desperate hope. I don't understand. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Why me? Because you're overqualified for this place. Kael nodded toward the outdated equipment, the understaffed chaos beyond the cafeteria doors. And because you deserve better. Sloane's laugh was bitter, broken. You don't know anything about what I deserve. I know more than you think. Her phone buzzed on the table. Then again. And again. Kael didn't need to see the screen to know who it was. He could hear her heartbeat spike, see the color drain from her face. I have to take this. Her hands shook as she reached for the phone. You don't. She looked at him sharply. You don't understand. Then help me understand. The phone kept buzzing. Sloane's breathing got faster, shallower. Kael could hear her pulse racing, could smell the fierce sweat on her skin. Every vampire instinct told him to feed, to take, to consume. But something else, something he thought was dead, told him to protect. He's my husband. Sloane's voice cracked. If I don't answer, he'll come here. He'll make a scene. I'll lose this job too. The word hung in the air like poison. What if you didn't need this job? What if you had somewhere safe to go? Sloane stared at him like he'd just offered her the moon. People don't just give away safety. I'm not people. It was as close to the truth as Kael dared. And for a moment, something shifted in Sloane's expression. She looked at him, really looked, and Kael wondered if she could sense what he was. If some primal part of her recognized the predator sitting across from her. Her phone stopped buzzing. Started again. I can't. Sloane stood abruptly, grabbing her coffee. I appreciate the offer, but I can't. My husband wouldn't allow it. Your husband doesn't own you. Yes. Her voice broke completely. He does. She walked away before Kael could respond, disappearing into the chaos of the hospital hallway. But she left her sandwich behind. Untouched. Uneaten. Just like every other meal she probably skipped because Derek controlled the money and the food and every single breath she took. Kael sat alone in the cafeteria and made another call. I need a full workup on Derek Harlow. Business associates, financial transactions, everything. And I want to know why a construction contractor drives a $200,000 car. The answer came back 3 hours later. Human trafficking. Derek's company was a front. He smuggled people in shipping containers, sold them to buyers across 3 states, and used the construction contracts to move his cargo without suspicion. Kael stood in his study, looking at the evidence spread across his desk, and felt something he hadn't felt in centuries. Not just anger. Not just hunger. Pure, biblical wrath. I've spent centuries learning to control my hunger. Why can't I control this? He looked at the photo of Sloane his team had provided. She was smiling in it, from years ago, before Derek. Before the bruises. Before the fear. Kael wanted to see that smile again. Wanted to put it back on her face himself. Wanted things he had no right to want. Derek Harlow didn't just deserve death. He deserved to be erased. Every bank account, every asset, every memory. Kael had done it before to men who'd crossed him. But this was different. This was personal. Have you ever met someone who changed everything in one conversation? Someone who made you want to be better, do better, fight harder? Drop a heart in the comments if you believe protection is more powerful than possession. Because Kael Thorne just discovered that some things are worth breaking your own rules for. And Sloane Marrick is about to find out that the most dangerous man in Ashford Heights just decided she's worth saving. Mommy, I need to tell you something. Sloane looked up from folding laundry, the only chore Derek allowed her to do without criticism. Wren stood in the doorway of their tiny bedroom, twisting her hands together the way she did when she was nervous. "What is it, sweetheart?" "I went somewhere I wasn't supposed to go. A few nights ago. When Derek was sleeping." Sloane's stomach dropped. "Where?" "To the big house. The one all the kids talk about. Thornewood Manor." The laundry basket slipped from Sloane's hands. "You did what?" Wren's eyes filled with tears. "I asked the man there to adopt us. I told him Derek was wicked. I told him about the stairs and the shouting and how you cry when you think I'm asleep." The room tilted. Sloane grabbed the edge of the dresser to steady herself. The legends about Thornewood Manor weren't just stories. They were warnings. The vampire lord. The thing that lived in the shadows. The monster that erased people who crossed him. And her 7-year-old daughter had knocked on his door. Sloane barely remembered driving to the Belmont district. Terror had a way of making time move strangely. By the time she stood at the iron gates of Thornewood Manor, the sun was setting and her hands wouldn't stop shaking. She rang the bell. Kael answered. Of course he did. He'd probably been expecting her. "I'm so sorry." The words tumbled out before Sloane could think. "My daughter, she came here. She shouldn't have bothered you. Please just forget it happened. Please don't hurt her. I'll do anything." Kael's expression was unreadable. "Come inside." "No. I just needed to apologize." Sloane. Her name on his lips made her breath catch. "Come inside. We need to talk." Something in his voice, calm and absolute, made her obey. She followed him through doors that belonged in a museum, down hallways lined with paintings that had to be centuries old. The house smelled like old books and candle wax and something else she couldn't identify. Something cold. He led her to a study that looked like it had been frozen in time. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. A fireplace that could fit 3 people. A desk covered in papers. "Your daughter was very brave." Kael gestured to a leather chair. "Sit. Please." Sloane sat because her legs wouldn't hold her anymore. "I know who you are. What people say you are." "And what do they say?" "That you're not human. That you make people disappear. That you've lived in this house longer than anyone can remember." Kael poured her a glass of water from a crystal decanter. "All true." Sloane's hand shook as she took the glass. "Then why am I here? Why didn't you hurt Wren?" "Because she asked me for help. And because the man she asked me to save you from is far more monstrous than I could ever be." He slid a folder across the desk. Sloane opened it. Her hands went numb. Photos. Documents. Bank statements. Shipping manifests. And faces. So many faces. Young women. Teenagers. Children. All connected to Derek's construction company. All missing. All sold. "I don't understand." Her voice sounded far away. "Your husband runs a human trafficking ring. He's been doing it for 6 years. The construction business is a front. He moves people in cargo containers and sells them to the highest bidder." The room spun. Sloane saw her wedding photos in her mind. Derek smiling. Derek promising to take care of them. Derek coaching Wren's little league team last summer. "I didn't know. Oh God, I didn't know. How could you?" Kael's voice was surprisingly gentle. "He's very good at hiding what he is." Sloane couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Couldn't process that she'd brought this monster into her daughter's life. That she'd let him touch her. That she'd defended him to friends who'd tried to warn her. She didn't realize she was crying until Kael's hand touched her shoulder. His skin was cold. Impossibly cold. But his touch was gentle. The connection was instant and electric. Sloane looked up at him, really looked, and saw something in his eyes that didn't match the legends. Pain. Understanding. Something almost human. Why do you care? Her voice cracked. What are you? Someone who understands monsters better than most. Kael's thumb brushed away a tear she hadn't felt fall. And someone who knows the difference between feeding on fear and fighting for what's right. You're not human. No. You're what they say. A vampire. Yes. Sloane should have run. Should have screamed. Should have grabbed Wren and disappeared into the night. But she looked at Kael's face, then at the evidence of Derek's crime spread across the desk, and realized something terrifying. The monster she'd married was worse than the monster offering to save her. I can protect you. Kael's voice was low, urgent. Both of you. Bring Wren here. Tonight. You'll have your own rooms. Your own space. You'll be safe. And what do you get? The chance to do something I should have done centuries ago. Save someone instead of destroying them. Sloane looked past Kael at the mirror on the wall. She could see herself clearly, tear-stained and broken. But Kael's reflection was missing. Just empty space where he should have been. Reality crashed into her like a wave. This was real. All of it. Vampires. Monsters. Magic. And the only one offering her safety was the thing she'd been taught to fear. I need time to think. You don't have time. As if summoning him with the words, headlights blazed through the study window. A car screeched to a halt outside. A door slammed. And then Derek's voice, drunk and furious, shattered the night. Sloane. I know you're in there. Get out here right now. You're my wife. Mine. Kael's eyes flashed red in the candlelight. His voice dropped to something ancient and deadly. Choose. Right now. Him or me. Fear or freedom. But choose. Sloane looked at the door. At Kael. At her reflection in the mirror where his should have been. And she made the choice that would change everything. Would you trust a beautiful stranger to save you from a familiar devil? Sometimes the scariest choice is the right one. Tell me in the comments what you would do, because Sloane Marrick just made a decision that will either save her life or end it. And Derek Harlow is about to discover that some men should never have been given power in the first place. Stay inside. Kael's voice was calm, but Sloane heard the danger underneath. She pulled Wren close as Kael walked toward the front door, toward Derek screaming. You can't hide her from me. Derek's voice was slurred, venomous. She's my wife. That's my kid. I'll call the cops. I'll burn this place down. Sloane moved to the window, her heart hammering. She shouldn't watch. But she couldn't look away. Kael stepped outside. The temperature dropped 10 degrees. Derek was halfway up the stone steps, fist raised, ready to pound on the door again. When he saw Kael, he stopped. Something in his drunk brain recognized danger. You need to leave. Kael's voice carried through the night like a blade. Screw you. Derek tried to sound tough, but Sloane heard the tremor. I want my wife. She's not your wife anymore. The hell she's not. I have papers. Legal rights. You think you can just steal my family because you have money? Kael moved so fast Sloane's eyes couldn't track it. One moment he was on the top step. The next, his hand was around Derek's throat, lifting him off the ground like he weighed nothing. Derek's feet kicked at empty air. Kael's eyes glowed red. Actually red. Like embers in the darkness. You have no rights. Kael's voice dropped to something inhuman. You lost them the first time you raised your hand to her. The first time you made that child cry. The first time you sold an innocent person like cargo. Derek made a choking sound. Sloane saw the dark stains spread across the front of his jeans. He was terrified. And part of Sloane was glad. But another part, the part that had just chosen to trust Kael, felt a spike of pure fear. This was what he really was. Not the gentleman who'd wiped her tears. Not the calm voice offering safety. This. Power. Violence. A predator who could kill without effort. You're going to go home. Kael's voice became hypnotic, layered with something that made Sloane's head hurt. You're going to sleep. You're going to forget you came here tonight. And you're going to wait. Because what's coming for you is so much worse than death. He dropped Derek. The man collapsed on the steps, gasping. Now leave. Derek scrambled to his car like a broken animal, tires screeching as he fled into the night. Kael stood there for a long moment, his back to the house, his shoulders rigid. When he finally turned around, his eyes were normal again. Dark. Almost human. But Sloane had seen the truth. He came back inside slowly, carefully, like he was approaching a frightened animal. I'm sorry you saw that. Sloane's arms tightened around Wren. Did you hurt him? Not yet. The promise in those two words made her shiver. Thank you. The words felt hollow. For protecting us. You don't have to thank me. Kael kept his distance, and Sloane realized he was giving her space on purpose. You're safe here. Both of you. That's all that matters. But Sloane saw the hurt in his eyes. The way he looked at her like she was something precious he'd already lost. I'll show you to your rooms. Kael's voice was carefully neutral. You must be exhausted. The rooms were beautiful. Huge. Each with its own bathroom. Wren got a bedroom with bookshelves and a window seat. Sloane got a suite with a fireplace and a bed that looked like it belonged in a castle. It should have felt like freedom. Instead, it felt like a different kind of cage. The days that followed were strange. Wren adapted quickly. Too quickly. She followed Kael around like a shadow, asking him questions, laughing at his stories. Sloane would find them in the library, Kael teaching Wren chess, his ancient hands moving pieces with infinite patience. He's nice, Mommy. Wren said it every night. He doesn't yell. He doesn't hurt. He's nice. And that was the problem. Sloane wanted to hate him. Wanted to fear him. Wanted to keep her distance until she could figure out her next move. But watching him with Wren, seeing the gentleness in the monster, made everything complicated. Then Derek started calling. You think you're safe? His voice on the phone was cold, sober, calculated. You're not. I have lawyers. I have custody rights. That thing you're with isn't human, Sloane. People will believe me. And when they take Wren away, where will you be? Sloane's hands shook. You were lying. Am I? I'm human. He's not. Who do you think the courts will side with? He hung up before she could respond. By the way, I'd love to know where you're watching this story unfold from. Are you somewhere warm or fighting the cold like Sloane, trapped between impossible choices? Drop your city or country in the comments. I want to know where in the world this story is touching hearts, because what happens next is going to break them. Sloane sat in her beautiful room and did something she hated herself for. She called a lawyer. Just to explore options. Just to ask questions. Just to see if there was a way to protect Wren that didn't involve vampires or abusers or any of this insanity. She spoke quietly, thinking she was alone. But in his study 3 floors down, Kael heard every word. Vampire hearing didn't miss much. And when he heard Sloane ask the lawyer about restraining orders against both Derek and any non-family members who might pose a danger to her child, something inside Kael shattered. She didn't see him as a protector. She saw him as another threat. I trusted you with my fear. Don't make me regret it. But she already did regret it. He could hear it in every whispered word. Kael sat in the darkness and made a decision. If Sloane wouldn't let him save her with love, he'd do it with fear. Derek Harlow didn't get to wait anymore. Tonight, he would be erased. And Sloane would understand, eventually, that some monsters don't give you choices. They make them for you. Have you ever been saved by someone you were afraid of? Have you ever had to choose between 2 evils and hoped you picked the right one? Fear and safety can exist in the same heartbeat. Tell me in the comments, because Kael Thorne just heard the woman he loves planning to leave him, and what he's about to do will either prove he's her salvation or confirm he's just another nightmare. Kael sat in his study, surrounded by 3 centuries of silence and 7 days of files on Derek Harlow. Bank accounts. Shell corporations. Cargo manifests with human lives reduced to inventory numbers. Testimonies from the few victims who'd escaped. Photos of the ones who hadn't. He could end this tonight. 1 phone call. Derek would vanish so completely that even God would forget he existed. But the woman upstairs was planning to leave. And that hurt more than anything Kael had felt in 200 years. He heard her footsteps above him. Heard her crying softly in the bathroom where she thought no one could hear. Heard her whispering to Wren that everything would be okay, that Mommy had a plan, that they'd be safe soon. Safe. Away from him. Kael closed his eyes and tried to remember why he'd stopped feeling anything in the first place. Sloane couldn't sleep. She wandered the manor at midnight, when Kael usually disappeared to wherever vampires went at night. The house was beautiful in the darkness. Candlelight flickered in the hallways. Old paintings watched her with knowing eyes. She found herself in Wren's room, just to check on her daughter. Wren was asleep, clutching a book Kael had given her. A first edition of something probably worth more than their old house. Sloane noticed the diary on the nightstand. The one Wren had been writing in every night. She shouldn't read it. But her hands moved anyway. I wish Kael was my real daddy. He's nice. Derek is mean. He never yells. He teaches me things. He makes Mommy smile sometimes when she thinks I'm not looking. Mommy should love Kael. He'd be a good daddy. The words broke something open in Sloane's chest. Her daughter felt safer with a vampire than with the human man Sloane had chosen. What did that say about her judgment? Her choices? Her ability to protect the person she loved most in the world? Sloane left Wren's room and kept wandering. She found a door she'd never noticed before. Unlocked. Inside was something between a study and a shrine. Old photographs in frames. Letters in languages she didn't recognize. And a journal, leather-bound, sitting open on a desk like someone had just been reading it. The handwriting was elegant, old-fashioned. And the date at the top of the page made her breath catch. April 17, 1893. She read. Her name was Catherine. She was 8 years old. She had her mother's eyes and my stubborn heart. And I couldn't save her. The man who took her was human. Respectable. A judge, they said. Untouchable. He took Catherine and 3 other girls from our village. By the time I found where he kept them, 2 were already dead. I killed him. With my bare hands. And I felt nothing. That's when he found me. The vampire who saw my rage and offered me eternity to channel it. I said yes because I had nothing left to lose. I've spent 3 centuries destroying men like that, Judge. Men who hurt the innocent. Men who hide behind power and respectability while committing unspeakable evil. But I've never saved anyone. I only punish after the damage is done. Until now. Until her. Until Sloane. The entry ended there. Sloane's hands shook. She closed the journal carefully, reverently, and turned to find Kael standing in the doorway. You weren't supposed to find that. His voice was quiet. Broken. You had a daughter. I had everything. Kael stepped into the room. And I lost it all because I didn't act fast enough. Is that why you're doing this? Why you're helping us? Partly. Kael looked at her with eyes that held centuries of pain. But not entirely. Then why? Because you make me feel human again. Because when I hear your heartbeat, I remember what it was like to have one. Because for 300 years I've been dead inside, and you brought me back to life. The confession hung in the air between them. Sloane crossed the room before she could think better of it. She reached up and touched his face. His skin was cold as marble, smooth as ice. But when he closed his eyes at her touch, she saw nothing but warmth. You didn't save me from a monster. Her voice cracked. You showed me what protection actually looks like. Sloane. You're not the monster in this story, Kael. You never were. She kissed him. And the dead man learned what it meant to feel alive again. His lips were cold but gentle. His hands trembled as they touched her face like she was made of glass. And when she pressed closer, his arms wrapped around her with a desperate tenderness that made her forget every reason she'd ever had to be afraid. Her heart raced. His stayed silent. Both were perfect. The blood moon rose through the window behind them, painting everything red. Kael's phone buzzed. He ignored it. It buzzed again. And again. He pulled away reluctantly, his forehead resting against hers. I'm sorry. I have to take this. She watched his expression change as he listened. Watched the softness disappear. Watched the ancient predator return. What is it? Derek. Kael's voice went deadly. He hired men to take Wren from school tomorrow. Mercenaries. He's planning to disappear with her. Sloane's blood turned to ice. No. No. We have to. I'll handle it. No more secrets. Sloane grabbed his arm. We face this together. Kael looked at her like she'd just offered him salvation. Together. Together. The next afternoon, 3 armed men approached Wren's school. They never made it inside. Kael moved through them like a shadow given form. By the time Sloane arrived with school security, the men were unconscious, tied up, and terrified. One of them was crying. Begging. Saying things about glowing eyes and impossible speed and monsters are real. Derek watched from his car across the street. Watched his hired guns fail. Watched something move too fast to be human. And he finally understood what he was dealing with. He made one last phone call. To people who specialized in things that shouldn't exist. To hunters who'd been killing vampires for generations. I know where one lives. Derek's voice shook with rage and terror. And I'll pay whatever it takes to watch him burn. Love makes us vulnerable, but it also makes us strong. Have you ever found courage in protecting someone you love? That's not weakness. That's power. Drop a comment if you believe broken people can still find beautiful things. Because Kael Thorne just found something worth dying for. And Derek Harlow just made a deal with people who are very, very good at killing immortal things. 3 weeks ago, a little girl stood at Kael Thorne's door and begged him to save her mother. Tonight, that same little girl stood at the same door. But this time, her mother stood beside her. Not begging. Choosing. They're coming, aren't they? Sloane's voice was steady. Kael looked at the woman who'd brought him back to life and wanted to lie. Wanted to tell her everything would be fine. But he'd promised no more secrets. Yes. The hunters will be here within the hour. And Derek will be with them. Then we prepare. No. Kael's voice hardened. I have a safe house in Chicago. You and Wren will be there in 30 minutes. I'll handle this. Sloane stepped closer, and Kael saw something in her eyes he'd never seen before. Absolute certainty. You don't get to sacrifice yourself. Not when we just found you. Sloane, these men have killed vampires older than me. Stronger than me. Then it's a good thing you won't be facing them alone. The power reversal was complete. The broken woman who'd been too terrified to leave her abuser was now refusing to abandon the monster who'd saved her. Kael felt something he'd forgotten existed. Hope. They came at sunset. 12 hunters armed with silver and stakes and weapons designed to kill things that shouldn't exist. And Derek Harlow, watching from a distance like the coward he was. Kael met them at the gates. The fight was brutal. Efficient. Centuries of experience against weapons designed specifically to end him. Kael moved like death itself, but there were too many. A silver blade caught his shoulder. Another grazed his ribs. He was fast. But he was outnumbered. Then Sloane appeared at the manor entrance. Stop! Her voice cut through the chaos. Every hunter turned. Kael's heart, silent for centuries, somehow managed to break. No. Get inside. You want a monster? Sloane held up her phone, screen facing the hunters. I'll show you a monster. Derek Harlow. The man hiding in that car. He's been trafficking children for 6 years. Selling them like animals. I have evidence. Photos. Testimonies. Everything. The lead hunter lowered his crossbow slightly. What? He brought you here because he's losing control of his victims. Because he knows Kael protects the innocent. Because the real monster in this city is human, and he's using you to kill the one thing standing in his way. She sent the files. Every hunter's phone buzzed simultaneously. Kael watched their expressions change as they saw the truth. Saw the faces of missing children. Saw the cargo manifests with human lives listed as merchandise. Saw Derek Harlow's signature on documents that proved his guilt. The hunters were many things. But they weren't blind to evil just because it wore a human face. They turned toward Derek's car. He tried to run. Kael was faster. He found Derek 3 blocks away, cornered in an alley, begging. I'll disappear. You'll never see me again. I'll leave the country. Please. Kael grabbed him by the throat. You wanted to erase them. I'll erase you. He used every tool he'd spent 3 centuries perfecting. Compulsion, networked influence, digital manipulation, financial erasure. Within hours, Derek Harlow's bank accounts vanished. His properties transferred to his victims. His associates forgot his name. Even photographs seemed to fade, pixels corrupting, memories adjusting. Derek's last words were a whimper. "What did you do?" "I made you nobody." Kael's voice was cold. "Like you tried to make them." Derek Harlow died in that alley. Not from violence. From the simple biological reality that the human body needs a heartbeat to function. And when Kael's compulsion told his heart to forget how to beat, it obeyed. By morning, it was like Derek had never existed at all. The hunters left without another word. Their business was with monsters. And the real monster was already gone. 2 months later, Thornewood Manor felt like a home. Sloane returned to nursing, but on her own terms. Kael's resources gave her the freedom to choose where she worked, when she worked, and most importantly, why. She helped people because she wanted to, not because she had to survive. Wren thrived. Her laughter filled the ancient hallways. She learned chess and history and languages from a teacher who'd lived through the events he described. At night, she'd fall asleep to stories that weren't in any textbook. And Kael learned what it meant to be human again while being anything but. One evening, Sloane found him watching the sunrise through specially tinted glass. "You know," he said quietly, "I could give you forever. If you wanted it. You could be like me. Never age. Never die. We'd have eternity." Sloane took his cold hand in her warm one. "Ask me again in 50 years. Let me live this life fully first. Let me be human with you. Then we'll talk about forever. Forever sounds better when you choose it." Kael smiled. Really smiled. "I can wait." Wren appeared in the doorway, still in her pajamas. "Are we making breakfast?" "I want pancakes." And Kael has to flip them because he's really good at it. Sloane laughed. The sound was pure and unbroken and beautiful. Kael looked at the woman he loved and the child he'd come to cherish, and he understood something fundamental. He'd spent 3 centuries destroying monsters. But these two had saved one. They say monsters aren't real. But I know better. I married one. And I was saved by another. The difference? One wanted to own me. The other wanted to free me. And that's how a vampire, a widow, and a little girl became the most unusual family Ashford Heights never knew existed. That night, as Wren prepared for bed, she asked the question she asked every night. "Will you always protect us?" Kael knelt beside her bed. "Until the stars forget to shine." "That's forever, you know. I'm counting on it." Sloane stood in the doorway, watching. When Kael joined her, she leaned into him, warm life against cold eternity. "Thank you. For choosing us. Thank you for letting me." They stood together in the hallway of an impossible home, an unconventional family held together by choice rather than blood. And somewhere in the darkness, a heartbeat that hadn't existed in 300 years seemed to echo in the silence. Not his. But theirs. The family he'd found. The life he'd been given. The redemption he'd stopped believing in. Monsters are made by choices, not nature. And Kael Thorne had finally chosen right. If this story touched your heart, let me know. Hit that like button if you believe broken people can find beautiful love. Subscribe if you want more stories where the monsters aren't what you expect. And comment below, what would you sacrifice for family? because sometimes the scariest thing we can do is love again after we've been broken. Thank you for being here. Until the next story, remember, not all who wander in darkness are lost. Some are just finding their way home.